Hi, my name is DuCharme and I'm an educator at the Martha's Vineyard Museum. And in my museum, I would have this deer skull. This is a deer skull that I found on a trail run in Katama. I believe it's a young male deer because of these 2 points right here. And when I found it, it was pretty clean, it was pretty dry, but I thought I better take it home and soak it like in a bucket of bleachy water just to see, make sure it was 100% dry. And I kind of forgot about it. And then a couple months later, I went to go pick it up and like a surprising amount of organic material came oozing out. But it got me to this sort of clean, dry state that you see here. I think it's really, really interesting. I always wanted a deer skull. I was always fascinated by the skulls in Georgia O'Keeffe's paintings, the skulls that she saw on her long walks. And I really liked the way how she embedded them in her paintings, usually something like this, in the landscapes that she painted and landscapes that she walked. This skull is really interesting because it's got a number of very symmetrical points right here on the top of the skull where it's really thick and protected, but then also some asymmetrical points where there's like these 2 holes here don't actually line up with these 2 holes or what would have been a hole, and they're somewhat larger. There are these really interesting, they look like cracks or squiggly marks or fissures all along different parts of the skull. They're not actually breaks. I learned that this is where the skull's fuses as it grows to accommodate the growing brain. I like how this is sort of shell-like. Katama is only like a mile from the ocean, and many of you probably pick up shells for their beauty, for their delicacy, and their strength. They're kind of white and clean and pristine and hollow, and I think the same thing about this. I have tried to draw this skull and have not had a lot of luck. I think it's because the shapes are really hard, both the positive shapes, the forms I can see and feel that exist in 3 dimensions, but also the negative shapes. The negative shapes are really, really hard. And then also I get really sidetracked by some of the details. Here are some of my results. I'll keep trying. Yeah, and then the last thing about this skull, which is kind of fascinating, are the teeth. There's no incisors, there's nothing sharp, so I know that this animal is not a carnivore, but rather an herbivore. So this is the skull, the deer skull that would be in my collection in my museum.